Where were you born?
Fobbing in Essex.
Yeah.
Opposite the pub, local pub.
Yeah. Was that rural or?
Oh, definitely rural, yeah, fairly, just outside the village,
Yeah.
basically, and the pub was on the hills, Fobbing Hills, well known for its steep climb, when the old-fashioned cars used to come up and trying to get up there.
Yeah.
And yes, it's just on the fringe of the this village. What a nice little village, fairly quiet, not much traffic because there's no way through other through into towards Stanford Hope and Grays and areas like that. But, it's on the fringe of the Thames anyway.
Yeah, good.
So you got all the marshes around as well. So a lot of farming going on, sheep farming. That's right.
Yeah.
I don't remember much of that because we moved on from there to still within the village of Fobbing, but the other end of the village.
Yeah.
And that was fine, but I missed the old village because I used to be able to get out and go down to the marshes and do a little bit of eel fishing and all that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I really missed that in a way. It was great.
What was school like? Was school local?
And the school was a school in the next village, Vange.
Yeah.
It's the early school, and then at 11 I did Saturday 11 plus, and got to my school was then in Grays, which is some 7 or 8 miles from home. So we lived in the other end of the village, sort of thing. And so I was there till I was 16. I had a notion, or I knew very well that I was going to be called up, whatever. So I didn't get a chance to think about work really, and so that I had a chat at the school, and they said, "Oh, we'll get you a job go into Walls as a trainee manager." So they thought, well, I've got a year or two to go before I get called up, so we'll do that. So I went in there for a year. That was fine. I was working in the stock room and working with the books and the stocks and looking after the incoming goods and all the broken stuff and that. Very interesting. Weekends all dressed up in my Sunday best to keep an eye on everybody doing the shopping, and particularly school time, so I was out there checking up on the little thieving fingers that might be around, Yeah, very good. I totally enjoyed it. Then, of course, it was a question of what am I going to do? Where am I going? They're going to call me up. What? I thought, no, I'll volunteer then for the Navy, so that with well, nobody actually in the Navy, but they've all been merchant Navy. It's all been merchant Navy in the past, so I think I'll do that anyway. And very glad I did. Went into into Harwich and into training establishment, the
HMS Ganges.
HMS Ganges.
Yeah. I remember seeing the big mast.
That's right, the mast. Yes, so that was training establishment basically, and given the basic training, a little bit of marching to start with, and then we gradually got round to doing something on the water, rowing and all the rest of it. And then they decided I'd been working in engineering that I would be better occupied carrying on with engineering and taking a course in motorised vessels, naval vessels. So it was just a question of I did a 9-month course in London, of all places.
Mm.
And they went right through the whole gamut of the maintenance of the small vessels, no large ones.
Right.
And from there into the BIMS, which is the vessel you see up there on that little thingy up there.
Yeah.
And then on in and out of the various posts I had, the various vessels and the odd motorised, mostly small motorised stuff. And doing a lot of base work as well, repairs and things like that.
Right.
And then 1947 I was divorced.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and I thoroughly enjoyed it too. I had a great time in the main. I mean, particularly imagine I was in London
Yeah.
when the buzz bombs and things were about, you know, and loads of flares, you know, and the old what's the name? I can't remember the name of the thing. Dreadful thing. No, it was really great fun. It was something hard work. You know, you really had to learn your stuff in the exams and things. And then I learned a lot in 9 months, you know, and yeah, that was fine. So then we got the postings, and most of it was spent in repair work, really, because then the invasion was coming.
Yeah.
So they needed to have plenty of, you know, the troop carriers and things to carry them in, make sure that everything was tip top. Yeah, so spent most of the time doing that until the end of the war.
Right.
So, quite interesting, you know. Didn't go very far, but up and down the channel and all the French ports. We made mine sweeping all the inner. It was an inner port vessel basically, because it's wooden, built in America, and sailed across from there. I thought it was a great achievement, really. Because got a small vessel, wooden vessel, and completely bouncy on the whole waves. You can imagine. Yeah, it was great. So we had a great time.
What did you do then?
Well, from then onwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got married, and well, this was before I got married actually, and my mother sold up. She sold up everything in the house, in the bungalow. We had a nice little bungalow, not our own, but rented. Lovely bungalow, with good furniture and all the rest of it. Sold everything up while I was away. Didn't even know anything about it, and so I'm left in limbo, and I was nowhere to go. So this mate of mine from here said, "Well, you have a word with me." So the family said, "Come and live with us." So I did that, and that's why I started off in Hayes. I've never been here otherwise. I wouldn't, God knows where I could have been. I could have been anywhere.
Okay.
So that, to live with them, we got married, and we got a council house, and so I went on from there, for the family, and working ahead for all that, and this is where we are now with all these little ones around.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's nice though. It's great.
So what work were you doing? What job?
Still, we're still in factory, nearly supervising. All sorts of work, sort of different, but mainly in the it's for in X-rays with GC.
Right.
We're making up, building up all sorts of different types of X-ray machinery, experimenting with stuff as well. This was the job was in Wembley, so it was fairly close to. I just travelling every day, and from then onwards it was go. From there, quite a few years really, basically. Yeah, so mainly X-rays and X-ray equipment that right the way through from the very basic to quite involved stuff, you know. Yeah, I was no expert in X-rays. It's the engineering side of it that was. But I was always disappointed with it. It never really was my cup of tea. Quite honest with you, never would. No, but no chance when you're married and you have a family and support. You've got to support them, and that's it. No, so it's all a bit of a hodgepodge, all because my mother had sold up everything and just left, you know, and went. And there was nothing there to come back to, so I've been back into Essex again, which I've always regretted. I love the old place, and I think so much more my taste to Hayes, but that's the way it goes.
What happened to your mother when she sold up?
Well, because my sister had got married, and they decided to go to Canada. They lived in Brixham for a while in South London. For a while, and they decided to move to Canada. So they went to Canada, and my mother was left here with an aunt who lived in Hadley in Essex for a while. She stayed there, and then she eventually got somewhere like a house sitter, you know, with somebody somewhere in Hackney and various places. Then she ran a small nursery as well for Litlands, and that kept her going. And then eventually she decided to move to Canada, so she then went from here and to Canada and stayed there till she died. Yeah, so yeah, she didn't stay here long. I was always a bit resentful of the fact that I didn't have a chance to settle in. I didn't want to come to Hayes. I mean, Hayes was all right. I mean, it still is, I suppose. I wanted to be doing my own thing rather than not have to be forced into something. So that's how it was. We went on from there. Yeah. Then went on to EMI, and after we were married and worked in there, and I bought the council house I was living in, and then I bought this, and we went on from there. And we've been together ever since, me and Dorothy. Yeah, she's great. So yeah, it's a roundabout life really in a way. But then, of course, as soon as we were together and I wasn't considering any more family or anything, I decided to take up family history, so that I wanted to give myself plenty of time and effort, And so that was the idea of having a small flat. I wouldn't have to worry about anything, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself for years, for 10, 15 years, I suppose, one way or another. Working and, sort of researching up in town, because then in those days it was a question of going back to the basics. You couldn't pick it up, or get it on a screen anywhere. You had to go and search it out and write it out, or work it out, sort of thing. So it's brilliant. I mean, I totally enjoyed myself.
There's always another generation.
There's always things you missed out on, people you eventually hear about. Very disappointing at times. I missed out on a lot of people. My father had three sisters. Two of them got married and went to Canada after just before the war, First World War. Went to Canada and had a family, and rather we lost track a great deal. They did used to send them some things, parcels at times, from Canada to us. We kept in touch to a limited extent. Then, of course, when I wanted to do the research, nobody seemed to be that interested. We sort of lost touch and lost ground, really, Yeah. And it happened all over the place. One of them went to Australia and married, had a family, and the other area of the contact basically was Suffolk, where there was a load of, 2 or 3 of the family, the fishermen, I'm sure some were fishermen, married into the families in Suffolk, because that's where they used to fish and do their diving and stuff. So that was just the case of they were rather remote, they was rather lost track. And some people just not interested for some reason. I find it rather difficult to understand. And there we are. That's the way it goes.
Well, I have to admit that for a long time I wasn't particularly interested. It's only kind of
No.
when I've had children of my own that it started.
You think in terms of
actually it is important.
It's all part of their life, isn't it? And very much a point of their life.